You ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Because we got to be ready because we're already at 5 seconds in. Welcome back, all. W Podcast, YouTube, ready to go. Oh, man.
Ready. How was the weekend?
It was a slow weekend, which was nice. So, we didn't have to do, craziness. It was pretty simple. Pretty simple. And I liked it.
Hey.
I got to watch a little bit of the PGA Tour, which was, I haven't done that in a while.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah, it was good. A little busy. We had Kale's crew over yesterday. And
Big crew.
yeah, big crew. So, we had them over yesterday, and Saturday or was that yesterday too? I can't remember. We had someone over for dinner too. I can't remember if it was Saturday or yesterday also.
Yeah. I'm feeling it that it's already almost summer, like with sports and just with everything that's going on with it, travel plans, all that kind of stuff that comes with it. It really feels like summer. So it feels like it's full baseball season with football right around the corner.
Yeah, kind of is.
Yeah, we had dadgummit. Sorry, I got the Cardinals game on over here too. Just gave up a 2-run home run.
Yeah, that's always good.
It's frustrating. Yeah. So I was going through. I was walking my dog the other day with my wife, and so when we were walking, it was evening-ish, I guess, or dusk, and it was pretty cool. Like it was 48 degrees out, or 49. Like it was chilly, and I love it. Like I don't want it to be hot, and I was like, man, this gets me ready for fall and football. And Stephanie was like, "Are you kidding me? We haven't even had summer yet." I was like, "I know, but it's time for fall."
We can skip summer. I'm okay with skipping summer, honestly.
Yeah.
I was watching the news before I got on, and they're showing the temperatures, and it's like, 82, 83, 86, 88. And I'm like, oh no, it's coming.
Yeah, no, I don't want that at all. It's been pretty nice the last couple of days, but I know, and it usually doesn't get to like nasty hot here until like September, and it's annoying because you're like, oh, we got through August, and then September it's like 4 straight days, and you're like, this is stupid.
Now the bright side, I don't know if it's the same for up around your guys' area. They say it's supposed to be a cooler summer around here. They said that it's probably it'll be the coolest summer since 2017. So I'm like, okay, if that's the case, maybe it won't be as bad, but still gonna suck.
They'll say that in 2017 the average high was 94, and every year's it's 95, so they're not wrong.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah. So good Lord, I'm gonna have to turn this off because Montgomery's getting just hit around in Great America's small park. Have you ever heard that phrase for the Reds? Small park. Yeah, this Great America ballpark, it flies. The ball does there.
Yeah.
I don't know why it plays so small.
I don't know.
And
I'm not quite sure.
Kisner can't throw anybody out either while they're trying to steal bases. I'm going to turn it off for now. All right. I'm frustrated.
The Dodgers, Austin Barnes is supposed to be their defensive catcher, but, I don't think he's even come close to throwing anyone out. I'm pretty sure they're like 15 for 15 this year on stolen bases against Austin Barnes. Something he can't throw anyone out. I'm sure you watched the Cardinals series.
Watch that series. I saw the third game of the fourth where the Cardinals won it on a bad call at strike 3.
Yeah,
that was their umps. The whole series were so bad. They were all over the place, inconsistent. 2 inches off the plate, strike.
Yeah.
What?
Then the funny thing was like the Cardinals Twitter page was like, oh yeah, they like took a still photo of Mookie Betts, him throwing his hands up, throwing his head back, like this terrible call, and they're like, yeah, we just beat the Dodgers. I'm like, you celebrating that you just beat the Dodgers on an awful call.
Yeah,
you close out the series, the game, a horrible strike 3 call.
Yeah, well, I feel like almost across the board have been pretty bad this year.
They have.
I don't know if they didn't have spring training or what, but they look bad.
Yeah, that's not the first time it's happened to the Dodgers. Like that first Cubs series they played, all three, or the 2 games they lost to the Cubs in that first series, the last 3 outs in both games, were called strikes on pitches that were like either a full 2 or 3 inches below the strike zone or outside the strike zone. One almost ended up in the other batter's box, and they called a strike, and Freddie Freeman about lost it.
Yeah, that'll drive you nuts. That's why you need the robot umps a little bit. Not, because at least you could challenge those. But that's the thing is, then you couldn't even use those in this, before the 9th inning because you're like, I know there's going to be one call probably in the 9th. You're always going to save one for the 9th.
Yep. Yeah, it was brutal.
To your credit, he has thrown out 4.
Okay.
36. Oh no, 4 out of 40.
Yeah,
it's
something.
That's almost 2 a game.
Yeah, and the thing was, it was like, I want to maybe I was getting the consecutive wrong or something like that.
It is.
Yeah, that had and then plus Syndergaard, he's super slow to home anyways.
Yeah,
and so yeah. Do you
there,
know which baseball player holds the longest streak, active streak for most consecutive stolen bases without being thrown out?
Paul Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Sneaky guy, man. He's a smart base runner.
Yeah. What was he, 29 for his last 29, 30 for his last 30, something like that?
Yeah, you look at the guys he's up there with. It's like Trey Turner, like even career stolen base percentage with the minimum number of stolen bases. You're like, wow, he is way up there with like Trout and Turner, and you're like, never would have guessed it. But he used to be a 30 stolen base guy.
Oh yeah, when he first came in, he was someone that you had to watch for on the base pass.
Yeah. Austin Barnes' previous career high was in 52 games. He gave up 36 stolen bases. He's got 36 and 20. Looks like he's about to break that record, man.
Yeah. And the only reason why he's on that team because it's freaking Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
If Kershaw would have retired, we wouldn't be seeing Austin Barnes.
You don't want to?
I'm good. The guy's batting what? 088? Maybe lower than that now.
092.
Oh, okay. It went up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, it's not very good. But he also has 2 stolen bases. Of those 6 hits, he has 2 stolen bases. So you know what? He's not good. No. He makes Andrew Kisner look pretty good. Yeah,
the only thing he's good at, and it's not even that good anymore, is framing pitches. Now he's not even ranked up like he was, previously. This year his frame rate is horrible compared to normal. It's usually somewhere around the top, 15 or so. And this year it's somewhere around like 36, 37.
Dude, that's not good.
No.
Not good. Well, before we do baseball, I thought we could do on this side of it and then the recorded part, maybe do baseball and college sports, but maybe just talk about some of the Devante Adams, Jim Brown, and some of the NBA stuff. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, that works for me.
After we get the basketball stuff. But I think we should start with Jim Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, that is out of nowhere. Sometimes that these athletes aren't doing well, and I guess this is one that either I didn't realize. I mean, he's older for sure.
Yeah.
It's just boom, breaking news, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things, old age. You never know when it's going to happen. It's someone that did a lot for the game of football, and not just the game of football. He was activist, with Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, all them, getting out there for the black people. And so, I mean, not just for football, but for the black community. I mean, it's a big loss. I mean, if someone said he's the greatest running back of all time, I'm not going to argue with them. I mean, yeah, you got 3 guys, Barry, him, and Walter, but I mean, someone wants to say, hey, Jim Brown's the greatest of all time, and be like, yeah, I mean, there's a very, I mean, I'm not going to argue that. To me, it's one of those you can interchange. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad for football and everything. I mean, he's and the one thing most people don't know is he's probably at least top 5, maybe higher, greatest dual sport athletes ever.
Oh,
he's a big time lacrosse player when he was younger in college. So, yeah, it's sad. I mean, to see someone like a pioneer, for sports in general and football, see him pass away.
Yeah, some of the things that he did, it was every year it seemed like he was getting MVP votes. His worst season, he didn't get any, but he still made the Pro Bowl, and he still had 13 touchdowns. It was not like it was one of his only years he didn't hit 1,000 yards. But there was one year that stands out. He was the second was he? Which one is that? He was MVP, but he had 1,800 yards rushing. He had almost 300 attempts, and he averaged 6.4 yards per carry with 300 attempts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's. I remember when Jamal Charles was doing stuff in the league, and it was this thing like he was averaging more yards per carry than anybody else, and the only other name that would come up to was Jim Brown, who in his career averaged over 5 yards a carry. And like I said, it wasn't like he was carrying 10 times a game like they do now. He was out there toting the rock.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most physical running backs too. I mean, you go back and watch that film. That was not a guy you wanted to stand in front of.
Yeah. In a time where passing the ball wasn't really the same at all what it is now, and so people knew you were going to run the ball, and yet still ran the ball. And his last year, it's almost like Barry Sanders, where they both retire so quick, like earlier than what everybody expected. And his last year with 1,500 yards, with 17 touchdowns on the ground, not to mention 4 receiving and 35 catches. Like, he was doing everything. He was doing everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's why people say he's the greatest, and like I said, you
can't argue.
Not much of an argument. I mean, him, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton. I don't know if there's really it's not like the quarterback position where you go, yeah, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. And the argument isn't really as much. But the running back position, those 3 guys, I mean, you can't really go, oh, yeah, that one for sure is number 1. So, yeah, way he played the game of football. And like I said, I'm a historian. I love watching old clips and stuff like that. And so watching him, like I said, you ran the football, especially with the pads and helmets and stuff they wore back then. That's not a man you wanted to stand in front of, because you knew he was tough because he played lacrosse. Yeah. And he was going to lay a hit on you. So that was one of those guys that you better hope that you can grab those ankles and hold on for the ride.
Yeah. So it was super sad to see. But that is the thing. As you grow up in sports, as you get older in sports, you start to realize the great ones that you heard stories about from your parents and why they got involved in sports, or your uncles or your friends, parents, or whatever it might have been. This is one of those great examples of, like, I mean, my family talked about Jim Brown. They talked about, different people, even with the Cardinals growing up, that are no longer here, either Gibson and Brock and all those guys. So it's just one of those things. It's a sad part of sports, but I'm grateful that, like, we have so much stuff saved, so you can still look back and have really just those cool experiences, and you can share it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Hopefully the NFL does it right and kind of gives him, his, time in the limelight throughout the whole season, not just, one particular time, but throughout the whole season, because he was such an integral part in NFL, especially during his time. And hopefully they do him right.
You do got to imagine that they'll do something probably in the Hall of Fame game, the first preseason game of the year, but they'll probably do something before that. The only reason why I say that is it's in Canton, Ohio. So just that they would. Some of the other news, there's no really great transition from that, but in the other news, also welcome, Colin. Good to see you, man. Welcome back to the show. It's good to have you here. Unlike what the Devante Adams feels about the Raiders, he does not feel like it's good to be there.
No,
I feel like it's good to have Jimmy G.
I mean, definitely, like he says, that's not what he signed up for. That's not what he was expecting. 1 year he went there to be with Derek Carr, and Derek Carr's not there no more. He seems pretty upset that,
I just don't
basically
upset.
What?
Why? I understand why he's upset. I don't get, like, how. I mean, he's not even a quarterback, and he thinks that he can control the way the game is the way the teams are going to construct their rosters. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think for him, it's kind of along those lines. I came here to be here for this certain reason, and he wasn't even in the discussion on how it was going to go down. I think was probably one of those things, they didn't keep me in the loop on how things were going to work out because he's like, I'm not seeing eye to eye with the front office right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, I guess it's just one of those things that I'm going to have to grow into over time and basically be as optimistic as possible about what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's play this out 2 years from now. He's still there. Jimmy G, I think Colin put this in the chat too. Will he have more success with him than he did with Derek Carr? Or equal?
I mean, for him, he says it doesn't matter who his quarterback is, that he's the best in the NFL no matter who his quarterback is. That he proved it last year with not having Aaron Rodgers and having the season he had, stuff like that. So I don't quite understand why he's crying so much. But, I mean, the thing with Jimmy G is that he wins, but I don't know if his style of the way he throws and plays works as well with Devante Adams as a Derek Carr, who can push the ball down the field more. Yeah, Devante plays in the slot quite a bit also, but you also have Hunter Renfrow there. So it's kind of hard for him to play in the slot a whole lot because unlike, Renfrow, he can't, or say Renfrow can't play on the outside like Devante can. So, they got to have to keep him on the outside more. And one of his biggest weapons is get off the line and beating the guys and being open downfield. So I don't know how well it'll translate with that. I don't think it'll be anything against Jimmy G. I think it's just kind of the way that Jimmy Garoppolo plays. Is he doesn't push the ball down the field. He's more of a dink and dump in the middle, slants, dig route, stuff like that, compared to the, deeper passes that he's normally used to. Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, and what he could have had with Jordan Love.
Well, how about this? 4 minutes ago, maybe, Adam Schefter just tweeted out, Raiders owner Mark Davis told ESPN, Pete Gutierrez, we have come to an agreement with Tom Brady to become a partner in the Raiders, and we have submitted to the NFL for approval. We're excited for Tom to join the Raiders. What do you think that's about?
I know that he's looking for ownership in something, and so how much of it is just part owner and how much is it he go, let's go ahead and play one more year. I had some success with Josh McDaniel, so let's go ahead and give it one more go.
Just as soon as Jimmy gets hurt, just put me in, coach. I'm still here.
I mean,
it's something that the NFL has to approve, and so I can't imagine they wouldn't, but
yeah.
This door for him to go back into the NFL is wide open right now.
Mac, what's up, buddy? But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Part of me is like, I think that he could, but then again, I'm like, man, really, does he do it? I think that he's done. I honestly believe it.
I hope so. I'm ready to move on, but
because
he thinks
I don't know if he can look at that team and go, oh yeah, I can win. One, based off the fact that he griped and complained about how bad his offensive line was last year in Tampa Bay, and this offensive line in Las Vegas ain't any better and is probably worse. Because at least if he stayed in Tampa Bay, he'd have Tristan Wirfs back, Jensen back for most of the season, guards back. So at least he'd have some of the offensive line back. There, the offensive line is so bad that they haven't addressed it over the last few years, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we saw Derek Carr not play the best, because the man was under pressure so much because that offensive line was that bad, and they addressed everything else, on the offensive side except for the main thing, which was protecting your quarterback.
Yeah. Well, then maybe it will work. Maybe he'll just be an advisor and an owner.
Yeah, and that's the biggest reason why I could see it not happening, is because he is worried that he'd get in trouble or get hurt just because that offensive line wouldn't be able to keep him upright.
Yeah. We got some hockey going on in the chat. It's awesome. That's great, guys. I love it. Quick news. I don't know if you saw this. Do you know the 2025 NFL draft is going to be held?
Oh yeah.
You got to go, man. You got plenty of time to save up. You got plenty of time to plan out the trip. You go ahead and book the Airbnb now so it's cheaper. but
Yeah.
money, dude, you gotta go.
Yeah, they said that the draft's going to be on the field.
Dude, you gotta go.
I know. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I might have to sneak my way up to Lambeau for that one.
Yeah. So also the NFL approved to have emergency quarterbacks. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that way the 49ers can't gripe and complain again. Oh, we finished the game without a quarterback.
Yeah, that was always the debate between having 2 to 3 quarterbacks because you don't want to take up that extra roster spot with the third quarterback who's never going to play. But I like the emergency quarterback, especially the rate of concussions, the rate of just injuries. It just makes sense.
I don't understand why they got rid of the rule, because it was a rule before.
Yeah.
So why do away with it?
Mm. Sometimes we tinker with things just to tinker.
But to me, that doesn't seem like something we should tinker with.
That's true. Yeah. Oh man.
Easy on the Niners.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into that once the season gets a little closer.
Yeah. And we're getting close though. OTAs are soon. Can't wait. And that's just things to come. Before we get into any more football, because there is some football stuff I want to get to college-wise. We got the Spurs win the draft lottery, and everyone's saying they got the next great big man. It's hard for me to say this is a big man. He is tall. Not play like Tim Duncan or David Robinson at all. Very, very different.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool. It's nice that the Spurs have been so bad for it feels like a decade now. Since they went bad, they went bad.
It's only been 4 years.
Dude, it feels like 10.
This is the last time they haven't made the playoffs in 4 years. The last time they made it was like 2018, 2019.
But before, so was it like a 1 year, and the year before that, and it was like 4 straight also?
No,
dude,
it was like every other year for them there for a few years.
I don't know. Did you want the Spurs to win it? I don't like the Spurs.
No, I was hoping the Mavs somehow would have moved from 10-1, but I knew that wasn't happening. No, I would have loved to see him go to Portland. Give Dame some help.
Dude, would have been awesome.
Some big man help or something. I thought would have been real, cool. So they could keep Dame up in Portland and make some moves that way. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't really care. But yeah, I don't like Spurs. I am a Mavericks fan. I absolutely hate the Spurs.
Yeah, no, grew up Suns.
But,
hate Spurs.
Yeah,
cheaters. Getting lucky.
But the track record, number 1 picks. I mean, they've had 2 number 1 picks ever, and it was David Robinson and freaking Tim Duncan.
I know. Nailed him.
So, I mean, you just go based off of analytics or everything. Wemby's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I do think it's easier to be a Hall of Famer now than it used to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, he plays nothing like Tim Duncan or David Robinson did. Right. But the man is basically like a 4 or 5 inch taller Kevin Durant, basically, but better defensive player from what he's shown. Yeah, I've watched him play, and guy can shoot, he can defend, he can dribble, he can do pretty much everything on the court. And he's 7'3" with like an 8-foot wingspan. The wingspan is stupid.
I just don't know. I don't know how the NBA players just keep getting that. How you can have them keep getting that much better. They're clearly getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Without adjusting the game to get harder, I guess. I don't know. It feels like other sports they've adjusted and they've gotten better, but they've also tinkered with the game. This just, man, it's unstoppable. Move the goal to 11 feet, maybe. I don't know. Does that matter for Wemby?
No. Yeah, the wingspan on the kid is insane. And you said, if things go right and if he falls the way he should, way everyone expects, he could be the next great NBA player. I mean, the closest thing you could probably come to is, I think Kevin Durant it's like a mix between Kevin Durant and Giannis.
Yeah.
The Kevin Durant shooting size, everything. And then it's the Giannis ability to be a great defensive player, rebounder, everything. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to get beaten up in the NBA, his size. That's not the case anymore. Now, if this was like early 2000s, yeah, absolutely. Him being 7'3", weighing 200 and whatever 20 pounds or how much ever he weighs. It's not a big deal like it used to be because you don't have so much back to the basket, players.
None.
I mean, yeah, Embiid's like really the only one, and the dude in the post is absolute wuss.
Yeah.
I cannot stand. I mean, that dude should dominate every single game he plays. And when I say dominate, all he has to do is post everyone up because no one in the NBA can defend that because the size and the strength that he should have. But the fact that he doesn't, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So I don't think the size is as big of a deal as everyone is thinking it is. Yeah, he's going to get pushed around more, but he's only 18, 19 years old. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. So, yeah, I don't think the size thing is as big of a factor as everyone's expecting it to be.
Well, I don't know. Once it happens, we already know. It's one of those things you already know who the first draft pick is. Why not let him go ahead and draft him now? Why wait? But,
yeah, they already said it. They're like, yeah, he's going to be working out with Tim Duncan.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
What a great start to the NBA.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Draymond Green, we don't got to spend a whole lot of time on this, but Draymond Green said the punch in the face is when their season was doomed. This team, I've never seen a team with this caliber, with this quality of people, and then it seems like it's just crumbling from the inside.
Honestly, he's not lying to a certain extent because whenever a captain on your team punches another guy in the face during practice, yeah, there's going to be some bad blood and mistrustment there that a guy that was pivotal to your championship run last year, and you basically made him feel like an outsider the whole season. From the way it sounds like that Poole felt like they were always talking behind his back, trash talking in the locker room on his back, and you made him feel like he wasn't a part of the team. And it showed in the playoffs. It was nothing like the Jordan Poole we saw last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think Draymond probably is a big part of it, but y'all at this point are just now making up excuse after excuse to, justify you losing. You lost because it's probably at the end of your dynasty. It happens. Every dynasty ends at some point. And this one looks like this is probably where it starts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think this is where it ends.
Yeah.
It ends all the same year. I think they're all looking different directions. I think it'll be interesting long-term to see how much or not long-term, short-term, how much longer Steve Kerr stays in that spot before he's like, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Like, I don't know that he's ready to stay there. So, anyway, You feeling ready?
Let's do it.
Let's get this all rolling. All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to the W Sports Podcast, live as we record on YouTube. If you didn't know this already, we are live on YouTube as we speak and as we record. Chat, lots of great questions in there. There's almost 30 minutes of bonus content today. So we've already been running on this treadmill. So hope you're ready today to just jump into some college news and notes, as well as some Major League Baseball. But maybe you came in and you're wanting to know some NBA news or NFL news. That is over on YouTube. So all that being said, welcome back to the W Podcast. Tubby, man, it's good to have you back, man.
It's good to be back. Anytime we're starting to talk about college sports, college football especially, yeah, I get juiced and ready to go. I mean, even my shirt says it, juiced.
What kind of juice though? Is it the steroid juice or is it like
it's
Kool-Aid?
apple juice?
Apple. Okay. It wasn't like it's not the stuff that Fernando Tatis had last year, right? The stuff for the ringworm.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it was just I didn't know, man. I'm sorry. So
I mean, you can't tell. I'm getting more chiseled.
Oh no, I can, man. You've been cut. Okay, I'm debating math season. Is what I'm doing.
Yeah, he let me borrow the ringworm medicine.
Dude, gross. I know we just mentioned it. As we're recording this, they're going to play tonight. Do the Lakers stave off elimination tonight?
I mean, they might get one game, but honestly, I really hope that the Nuggets just sweep them.
It just gets up with. Well, it's funny is that they're already like ESPN, Bleacher Report, all of them. They're already doing like, what are the possible trades in the offseason for this team? And you're like, they're not even eliminated yet. They're still going.
I mean, I guess they're just looking at history. Was it in the NBA? Teams are 0 149 being down 3-0. So I mean, the odds of them coming back aren't good.
Yeah.
But
well, and what sucks is the NBA probably looked at the conference finals and were like, this is awesome. Man, we got the potential for Lakers. We got the Celtics. It's going to – oh, never mind.
No, it's going to be Nuggets Heat.
Miami versus Denver. This is fun. This is what we wanted. So that's probably what it looks like. Unless we have some incredible comebacks.
I mean, honestly, though, out of all the teams left, I'd rather see the Nuggets win just because, I mean, maybe it'll give Jokic – people actually put more respect on the name because what the guy has done over the last 3 or 4 years – you can't. But in today's
dude, he is soft.
But who isn't soft in the NBA now?
Okay, that's true. Fine.
So I mean, you can't. It's tough to say who's soft and who's not in the NBA.
Soft.
Do what?
No, I'm kidding. I said Kevin Durant's not soft.
Oh yeah, no, that guy's not soft at all. Yeah. But I mean, Jimmy Butler may be the only guy left in the playoffs that's not soft. Yeah. So. I mean, I'd like to see him get just, because everyone tries to, he's stat padding, doing this, that. The guy's just that good. That's all it is. He's just that good. So I'd like to see him win it, and maybe people stop, disrespecting the guy for what he's done.
I agree. We'll see what happens, though. It looks like it's going to be them versus, Miami. And then Miami was an 8 seed, so that's pretty, as far as like playoffs go, this is not the most difficult road to win the championship for the Nuggets. So,
I don't know. Hey, the way the Heat are playing right now, they look like the best team in the NBA, maybe outside of the Nuggets. What they have done to the Celtics is just pitiful. The Celtics look like they don't even care or even try. They're already talking about firing the head coach. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Well, I got 2 lists here for college that we're going to get to for football. And so I just clicked over and glanced at one, and it got me fired up. But there's another list. We can either do that one right now, and we can wait on the list about college football tiers. One's an all-time list, and one is a current this season list.
I know what you're talking about. I saw that list that came out.
Okay, so here we're just going to do that one, and then we'll say the other one for next week. So if you didn't know, there's a tiered list that we're going to go over for college football quarterback tiers. So tier 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing. And I have some beef with it, but it's fine. So thinking about we're just anticipating college football season. Recruiting kind of got into it last week. If you didn't already know about that episode, go back and listen to it. We had Casey Poe, the one and only top on the podcast last week, giving us a firsthand knowledge. But so we're thinking through college football already. They had the top 75 quarterbacks, which I think is an interesting number to choose in college football. So you looked over this list?
So I saw I've seen a portion of it. I didn't see the whole list.
Okay.
But I know why you're juiced about it.
I'm juiced about it because the top 5. But okay, so here I'm gonna put this out here. They had Patrick Mahomes at number 57. A little upset about that.
But it's just in the 2000s. So, but
57.
How good was Patrick Mahomes in college?
I understand that the team was 12-13. The team was terrible. He was not. He had in 3 seasons he almost averaged close to 4,000 yards passing per season, 93 touchdowns. The dude was lighting up the charts. I'm very biased, but it's
50. Air raid offense.
Oh,
Landry Jones did the same thing.
You're telling me that Mason Rudolph is better?
College quarterback, yeah.
No way. Oh.
You cannot sit there and tell me that Mason Rudolph as a college quarterback was not, because this has nothing to do with the NFL or how good he is now. But in college, who was a better productive, who won more, you can't say that OSU didn't
Kyle Trask.
Out. I mean, that one's debatable. I think
he's 9 spots better than Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
You're kidding me.
Okay, so Landry Jones is ranked higher than Patrick Mahomes. Landry Jones, Patrick Mahomes. Landry Jones is like in the 30s.
Oh yeah, he's 39. Yeah, no, Landry Jones had an extra year, but I would. It is so hard. I hated Landry Jones, man.
But you can't. It's all based on production and wins. This is what because if that's the case, then why is Baker Mayfield number one?
He should be number one regardless. Okay.
Who said? I mean, if you look at but that's the thing is you got Vince Young, you've got Joe Burrow, you got Cam Newton. Well, one Heisman's or two of them won Heisman and won national championships. I mean, Joe Burrow had the most productive season in college football history.
He did.
And so
but if it's full college career, it's not Joe Burrow can't be number one because he didn't do it for his full career.
See, you just hurt your argument then.
No,
because Mason Rudolph's college career was better than Patrick Mahomes. I don't care who's better now. Mason Rudolph was a better quarterback in college than Patrick Mahomes was.
I have such a hard time understanding a writer that looks at the name Patrick Mahomes in college and sees the numbers that he put up. And yeah, I know the team didn't win. It's Texas Tech. They're not going to win. They're going to be 6-7 every year. Okay. Or 7-6.
But if you're as good as you're saying, he should make his team better and they should win more.
He does. It's not his fault. He
didn't though. He didn't have a winning record in college.
I know. I understand that. I get that. But how do you put Kyler Murray on that list as high as he was? He only had one full season as a starter.
He won a Heisman throughout that season.
I understand that. But if we're taking in full career here, then you can't have Kyler Murray at number 7. I love Kyler Murray. I think he was a great quarterback.
Oh, yeah. No, number 7 is way too high for Kyler.
It's very inflated. Deshaun Watson, I get. Lamar Jackson, definitely, based off career, you got to put him above Kyler Murray. He had a better career.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kyler Murray, I think they're also basing his more off of talent just because of what he had.
I'm going to lose it, okay? Based off, I get it. You're right. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And the thing is, he was actually winning and productive in college then you throw the talent in there. No one except for Andy Reid and the Chiefs even remotely thought that Patrick Mahomes would be even more close to what he is now. Even coming into high school, out of high school, into college, no one looked at Patrick Mahomes as like, yeah, this guy's going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. And so the talent in college, you didn't look at him and go, yeah, he's the most talented quarterback. He was productive in an air raid offense that inflates your stats. You got him at that. But he was also 12-13. He didn't make the guys around him better to win games. And the quote-unquote Big 12 is considered, during the time he was there, the worst defenses in college football.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was playing a bunch of 2- and 3-star recruits, against Oklahoma. So
it don't matter. You're supposed to make people around you better.
It just hurts, okay? It just hurts. I don't know how he hit submit and said, I know it sounds weird. I'm going to hit submit on this. And he's not going to, I mean, it's just hard.
You said it's the whole thing. And like I said, exactly. That's why Mason Rudolph is ranked higher.
Stetson Bennett, 37. The whole thing. Dude won 2 championships. Put up great numbers his last year. How
many? I mean, honestly, does he win those championships? Say you put him on Ohio State. You win those championships?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. That defense, and it's taking nothing away from Stetson Bennett because he had to perform, especially that first one. He showed up and he played probably his best game in that year, that national championship game, especially that last quarter. So it's not taking nothing away from him because he did what he needed to do, but those defenses were so dominant. I mean, the 2021 defense is considered by some the greatest defense in college football history. And so there's probably a reason why he's not higher on that list because they probably looked at it and were like, yeah, his defense has won him 2 national championships.
Yeah, I think Brady Quinn should have been higher on the list. I think Byron Leftwich should have been higher on the list as well. I think he gets knocked because he was with Marshall.
Yeah.
Even though he had a great career, Kyle Trask is way inflated. I don't understand even. I don't understand. Denard Robinson, I think, is fine to have on the list. But some of these guys, I just can't. Kenyon Reynolds.
Oh, yeah. Navy?
You think over Patrick Mahomes. That boy did not win that many games.
No, I mean, I don't know about over. I thought you were just saying on the list.
He's on the list. I'm just saying Patrick Mahomes.
He was actually somewhat in the Heisman discussions at
Max
some point.
Duggan.
Yeah, Duggan had one good year.
Wait, hold on. Maybe Max Duggan wasn't above. Maybe I got a little carried away there.
And say Duggan had.
I scrolled too fast. I scrolled too far. Max, but Matt Ryan was only 75. I don't know. This list is fine overall. I know it's just it's all arbitrary because we're just going to talk about opinions here, and my opinion clearly doesn't matter. So, who was your big stickler that really stuck out for you?
I don't know about like people that I thought were underrated. Like I thought Kyler Murray was vastly overrated. As great a talent as he was, and as an OU fan, yeah, we saw the talent. The 1 year he started, it was 1 year. He had 1 year where he did anything, won a Heisman Trophy, and then that was about it. The few games he played leading up to that, at Texas A&M, he didn't look great or anything. So, like I said, I didn't look at the list, like the full list. I saw the top 10, then I saw some other, like the OU guys. But like I said, it is a very subjective thing because, like, if you're going based off of everything, Cam Newton probably has the biggest argument. Tim Tebow has a big argument for being number one, and that's not taking anything away from Baker because Baker was phenomenal the years that he
crushed records that will probably stand.
I mean, efficiency, everything, rating. If they had a defense, he probably wins a national championship his final year. But so it's kind of hard to.
Should have won it the year they lost to Georgia. Just saying.
Yeah, that's the year I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, they had historically a horrible defense, ranked in the top or the bottom 100 in college football. Still made it to the college football playoffs and lost because of Lincoln Riley's play calling in the second half and into the first half and the onside kick.
Lincoln Riley just being an idiot.
But I mean, the argument for Baker being number one in the overall 2000s, I think, is there. But there's also guys, I think, like Cam Newton. Yeah, he only had one good year, so I think that's probably. But Tim Tebow, I mean, Heisman Trophy winner, a couple national championships, almost a Heisman Trophy winner again. So,
yeah, I think Vince Young probably at 3 is fine, but I would have Tebow at 2.
Yeah,
I'd move Cam Newton because it was only 1 year. I'd probably move Cam Newton and I'd move Deshaun Watson up 2.
Yeah, Deshaun had a pretty great year, career.
I think outside of Kyler Murray, the top 10, I'm pretty fine with. Trevor Lawrence could probably take the spot of Kyler Murray for overall career because of the length of the career. But I'm not going to put Colt McCoy necessarily. I think Colt McCoy just outside makes sense. RG3 makes sense. Marcus Mariota, he was prolific with them when he was with Oregon. They were just a different animal. But I would just flip them around a little bit.
Yeah, and so the top 10, I think Kyler, I think there's a very good argument you take him out of the top 10 and he'd be somewhere closer to the 15 to 20 range. Just like I said, based off of talent, yeah, he was probably one of the most talented quarterbacks that college football had seen in recent time. But 1 year of production, I don't think makes up for all the talent.
Yeah, so let's throw this out there. Who had a better career, Matt Leinart or Sam Bradford?
I mean,
they're very close in the list.
If you don't, I mean, yeah, they may have cheated, but it's Leinart. Leinart,
I agree.
They were so dominant in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I think if Sam could have won that one championship against Florida, I think that would have helped help his argument. But Matt Leinart that was a well-oiled machine. I think he probably goes over. It's nice that I think there's only one non-Power 5 school that has no Lamar Jackson, I guess. No, they are Power 5.
No, they're Power 5, yeah.
Yeah, so the highest non-Power 5 was Kellen Moore out of Boise State. I thought that was top 15. That's fine. He had a really great
Sounds about right. Yeah. I mean, there may be a couple other guys you may be able to, sneak in towards the back end, but it's hard to because they didn't play the talent. You look at it.
It's 50-3.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think kid's name from Houston. It slips my mind.
The most recent one? Case Keenum?
No. Yeah, maybe it's Case Keenum. No, or there's one that has the all-time passing record.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. So at that point, he was probably, you may be able to sneak in there at some point just because, I mean, you're going based off for, you put up the numbers that he put up. Granted, it was Houston against the teams that he played. So maybe there, some arguments there that he could be in the top 75, but it's hard to base it off of that because, like I said, talent-wise, you just aren't playing the top guys. At least Boise, every year they played at Washington or an Oregon, at least they played some Power 5 teams at the beginning.
You look at Hawaii, got Timmy Chang on this list.
Timmy Chang.
Yeah, remember, he was good. And the funniest part on this is he had 80 picks. That's why he's on higher on this list. 80. I know they're an air raid, but good Lord, 80 picks is a lot.
Timmy Chang was the man. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's the head coach there
now. He might be now. I can't remember. I know they have a former player as their coach. I just didn't know if it was him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Timmy.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Whedon had 27 picks. Geno Smith, 21. A lot of these guys have 20 to 40 picks. A.J. McCarron, 15 career picks. Bro, I got 80. Okay? 80. Get on my level. 80 is an insane number. It's funny. Matt Barkley, 48 picks. That was one of his things. He turned the ball over too much.
Matt Barkley, gross.
I know, dude. He's on the list too. So they have him at 61. You're telling me that he is only 3 spots worse.
Gross.
Spots worse than Patrick Mahomes. So fine. That's fine. That's your words. That's your words.
Yeah, no. Barkley on that list is brutal.
Zach Wilson,
I'm sorry.
63. Andy Dalton's better. Andy Dalton was 64.
That's kind of, yeah. Where's Scott Tolzien? Is he on that list? No, I was
kidding. Dude, you almost got me too. I was like, what?
No, I'm just messing with you on that one.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like I should put this in the chat, so I can't.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I think that people probably would have put Patrick Mahomes higher, and it would have been more of a.
It would have been the Kyler Murray thing.
I think it would have been more of a bias based off what he's done recently, not compared to what he did in college. Like I said, I get it. Maybe you probably could move him up a little bit higher, but there's some arguments, like certain guys that you go, we're basing this all about production, about winning, everything. Yeah, there is a reason why they probably are higher because of that factor alone.
So let me put this. Where will Caleb Williams be, assuming he has another Caleb Williams season and USC has another Lincoln Riley season? 11-2, maybe win a bowl game, not in the playoff, something like that. Doesn't win a championship, but that's where would you put him?
I mean, if they give him the second Heisman, then I think it would be hard not to put him at least top 3. And the argument for number 1, I mean, you've only had one guy ever win multiple Heismans. I don't think they'll give it to him just based off that fact. It just doesn't seem like. I mean, that they would give it to him. But if he has the production that he had last year, wins Heisman, and if say their team is able to sneak into the college football playoffs, it's hard to keep him not up there because of the production and everything. We're talking about how they played, production, wins, accolades and stuff like that. There's not anyone on that list that would, except for him not probably having that national championship, would be the one thing I think that would hamper him.
Well, and here's the thing. I think for me, if it wasn't the whole Lincoln Riley like bitterness, I'd probably agree with you a little bit quicker. For me, he would for sure be above Cam Newton. He would probably be above Vince Young overall, but it would take a pretty good run this year. He wouldn't be above Tim Tebow. I still would, if he doesn't win the championship, it's gonna be hard for me to put him over Joe Burrow. Deshaun Watson, sure. Kyler Murray, yes. Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, yes. I would probably put him up there in the top 4-ish, 3. Like you said, you're not taking my boy Baker down, man.
I mean, I get it. I mean, Baker, the list makes sense. At the top, I think there's a very, very good argument that you could talk swapping Baker and Tebow, just because. I mean, what Tebow did, granted, he wasn't the best quarterback, and I think that may be part of it. Is that you're talking about just straight up throwing. the numbers weren't the best.
Well, if you're straight up throwing, then your boy from the Navy shouldn't have made it either. So
no, and I think that's part of the reason why Tim Tebow. It's not just based off of quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Guys that just strictly can throw the football, but I mean the numbers, the Heisman's, national championships, the dominant run they had when he was there. I think the argument could be had that he is the best, and he's one of the best of all time. So if someone was to say, yeah, Tebow won, Baker, I think yeah, maybe, but also I'm an Oklahoma fan, so I'll take Baker anytime just because it's Baker.
Yeah. Well, I like it. That's a great list. Next week, we're going to talk about some tiered quarterbacks, so we'll get there. So current quarterbacks going forward. So Caleb Williams is going to be on that list.
Yeah. So this is just a side rant that we talked about this last week with Casey about the fans. Yeah. Did you see have you seen any of the stuff what happened with Oklahoma this weekend with the recruit? So kid from Durant, Oklahoma, everyone was expecting him to commit to OU. Well, the last, few, like 3 or 4 days, there's, okay, he's going to Oregon. Well, he commits to Oregon. What a couple OU fans get on message boards, start trashing the kid, start, just degrading the kid and stuff like that. Well, there's a Twitter page on Twitter that is like college football fan message boards. Well, they got those messages, those comments, put them on there. He responded, he retweeted it. Well, then a whole lot of Oklahoma target recruits started retweeting it. Like, oh, this is terrible, this is sad, shake my head, stuff like that. And it's just, this is exactly what we talked about last week. The kid is 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, and we're bashing him because he didn't stay home for a state that he's lived in for 3 years. It's not like he's lived here for his whole life or whatever, and he has huge ties to Oklahoma or stuff like that. And we're just absolutely degrading him for making a decision on himself, for himself, and went to a school where, I mean, Dan Lanning is an incredible defensive coordinator. Most defense kids are going to want to play for the guys. Brent Venables is a great defense coordinator also, but it's kind of, who would you rather play for type thing. Just the fans in general just need to be better. It irritates me so much that you as a 30, 40, 50-year-old man is going to get on Twitter or get on a message, a fan, message board that you can only see if you pay for, and just absolutely destroy a kid because of a decision he made for his future. Just to me, this is the most cringe-worthy thing when it comes to college sports, is that we're going to trash a 17, 18-year-old kid because they made a decision that they felt was best for their future, and you didn't like it because they didn't do what you wanted. And so you're going to get on there and just call them all these terrible names. One guy threatened, the kid needs to die, stuff like that. I'm like, just be better.
Yeah.
Just be better. Twitter is the worst thing that's happened in college sports ever. It just sports in general, but college sports, yeah. That's my little rant. It bugs me so much to see it because, like I said, we were all 17, 18-year-old kids when we had to make decisions in our lives, but I didn't have anyone, dogging me for my decisions. But because he's in the limelight, he's, big time recruit. You think it's okay for you to go out there and, drag his name through the mud, say these terrible things about him and his family, stuff like that. Come on, just be better.
Just be better. Another motto for Nike is just don't do it. Okay, just
be better.
Don't do it. If I was the Big 12, I would be in deep conversations with Oregon to bring them over to the Big 12. Oregon would be one of those. This dude, Dan Lanning, looks like he's a recruiting monster right now.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he can continue the success on the field, Oregon should remain as a title contender or a playoff contender going forward, because he clearly knows what he's doing. And he's, like I said, he's a recruiting monster. Constantly with the OU, it's not just Alabama or Georgia or Clemson that you're hearing, or A&M or Texas. You're hearing Oregon, and you're like, I'm sorry, what year is this? I forgot that Oregon was still that good. And, yeah, they are that good still, especially on the recruiting side. So all the resources there. So I don't blame him. You're right. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. Just got to keep it going. Be better.
One of those things that it just absolutely grinds me gears that they do stuff like that. But you're talking about expansion. Did you see the possible team that the Big 12 is going after for expansion?
Which one is it?
UConn.
That's a stupid decision.
Right?
For women's basketball? That's fine.
Basketball is the only thing. I mean,
Connecticut, stop it.
Yeah. They're like, this is a football conference. What are we doing?
Is it? Yeah, I will say last year we talked about UConn. They actually made it. Remember the turnaround they had? What's their coach name? Schwartz or something like that? Or
it's Jim. Is it Jim Moore?
Moore.
No. Jim Moore. I think Moore got fired. It's is it? Yeah, I think it is Jim Moore.
I'm about to find out, but that's not the team I'm going for.
Yeah, no, I think it is Jim Moore Jr.
Yeah, last year 6-7. Yeah, absolutely outscored.
Yeah,
coach. Yeah. So either way, that's what I don't know that I would do it.
Because Shiano went back to Rutgers. That's who I was thinking, but I don't think it's Greg Schiano. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jim Moore Jr. But yeah, I guess maybe they figured since Texas and Oklahoma's leaving, that maybe it isn't a football conference anymore. That they have to transition to basketball. Go, okay, we got to get Kansas and UConn playing against each other every year.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the day when you see a Big 12 rivalry weekend, UConn versus Kansas. So, yeah, the ACC is looking they need to figure out the pieces to keep it in-house. As multiple teams are looking to move out, I am not I'm not a fan of all these super massive conferences. I actually kind of miss the multiple, like the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, Big East. I miss those. I get why they're not because of the money, but just the regional matchups, the classic games that you're constantly going after, I really, really miss it.
Yeah. I mean, at what point does it make sense for these guys to have to travel from, especially like say BYU? You get UConn in Connecticut,
and
the travel.
Yeah, and then the other thing is they're going to end up saying like protected rivalry games, and they'll assign a rivalry. But that I hate. That's not how it works.
You don't assign the rivalry? What?
No, you do that in the NCAA football. So, are you going to get the game next year when it comes out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I can't. Are you going to get a PS5? You're going to have to get a PS5.
I already got one.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow, I am so out of the loop here. What are you playing?
Oh, I don't play a whole lot. We bought it.
Game.
We play Madden every once in a while.
Got to play the game. You're just waiting for college football.
Yeah, basically.
They said, so I know we're getting off a side tangent here. They said that it's the main thing I heard, because I'm very excited about it, is Dynasty mode.
Mm-hmm.
As it should be.
That was the whole thing. Once they stopped it, it made me sad because the way we did it, we would build up our teams, draft classes and stuff like that, and import it over to Madden and, draft our guys that we had built up and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when NCAA stopped, you're like, now what do I do?
Okay.
Now I got to have these people make draft classes that don't know what they're doing.
I know, yeah. Or you could download a draft class now. And
yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So there we go. So on that note, do you start a dynasty? Do you start it with OU, or do you start it with like UAB, Alabama, Birmingham, and then you work your way up? What do you do?
So usually we wouldn't, because it would be me and my dad playing. We wouldn't go OU because we're both OU fans, and so either we would make a school, or you would take just bad teams and build them up. Like we did Navy, schools like that. Yeah.
Did you do the triple option?
Absolutely.
Gross. That's not even fun, man. No.
I ran a triple option all the time. What are you talking about? Garrett
used to only run the ball when he played Madden, and it would drive me insane. Because you can't stop it.
Nope.
Pass the ball, dang it.
You can't stop. Yeah, triple option college football. You aren't stopping that.
It's just so annoying. Yeah, well, I can't wait for the game. I do typically start as like an OC for a terrible non-Power 5 and then wait to get the offers. And man, I can't. And they're going to have so many more teams now. Like on the
Yeah.
the oldest one I used to play was like from 12, and they have 120 teams. Now they're going to have like all of the teams, the South Alabamas and stuff. It's really going to make it great. Can't wait.
Yeah. That'd be
Um,
awesome.
so before we're really running. We're not going to have a whole lot of time for actual content. That's content that we normally talk about. UCLA college softball, OU dominated. I said Mizzou is going to put up a bit of a fight. They get run ruled in the fifth. And then UCLA, who I think we both thought was a decent shot as one of those contenders, lose 0-2 in regionals and are already out.
Yeah. You had three of the top 16 teams drop. UCLA, which is the big one, number 2 in the country. Then you had LSU, I think was 10th, and Arkansas was 8th or 9th. All lose their regionals. But Jen Schroeder, she's big softball. She's one of the commentators, analysts, whatever, for ESPN. And she was talking about how basically in a way around saying that it was unfair that a San Diego State team wins the regional without having to play the number 1 team in the region because UCLA lost.
That's not their fault.
Yeah, and that's what everyone's like. You're pushing the UCLA narrative because she's from the West Coast, stuff like that. And they're like, it doesn't matter. That's how it works. And basically hinting at there needs to be a format change. I'm like, how? Just because it's not, San Diego State won. UCLA didn't. Losers bracket, winner bracket. They lost to 2 teams that they shouldn't have lost to. And she was like, oh, well, I'm not saying this, but everyone's like, yeah, you basically are saying that there needs to be a format change and that it's unfair that a 3 seed didn't have to play the number 1 seed, wins it without having to play them. Like, well, they shouldn't have lost to the number 4 seed right off the bat.
I'm sorry, we should have had you be triple eliminated. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting and sad at the same time for college softball because one, UCLA is a powerhouse historically.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime Alabama loses in college football, I think everyone's happy.
Yeah, and that was the thing. They're just like, oh, I'm so sad for this player and this player. I'm like, yeah, it's sad, but what about Liberty or what about San Diego State? No one thought San Diego State would win that regional. No one thought Liberty could beat UCLA. And you talk, oh, it's so sad for them. Well, what about these teams? Why aren't we talking about the teams that won? So I just thought it was funny that she was, oh, poor them. They didn't even have to play the team. I'm like, oh, come on. Stop it. That's how it works. Sometimes you don't have to play the best teams to win. But obviously UCLA wasn't the best team.
With the Boston Celtics, Denver Nuggets, and all these guys, the team there, it's maybe it's not the 1-2 seeds, okay? You're going to play the 7 and 8. So, yeah, that was lame. But I'm glad OU won, and they're looking dominant and ready to go run through the Super Regionals or whatever they're called this week. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, Super Regionals. So, over the last 4 years, Oklahoma has, out of their wins, 52% of them have been run rules.
Speaking of run rules, though, my wife is in a softball league. Co-ed softball league, and they just 21 zipped their first game today. Run ruled them in the 3rd inning. Good Lord.
Holy cow.
Insane. Every now and then I get to sub for them, and it's a lot of fun. But there are some teams that, man, they're just so funny to play against. Like, they're clearly out there just to have fun and just to hang out with people, and it's so much fun to play against them. But if you're on their team as, like, a sub, you're like, man, cut off, man, and you weren't there. Not a big deal. All right, so let's move on to some baseball stuff. But before we do that, Colin, we saw your question in the chat, your statement about college football. See, this is why we talk about it. Honestly, that list, that top 75, is probably one of those that in the past we would have texted each other about 6 or 7 times, and now we just get to talk about it with you guys. So as far as picking a team, man, you can't go wrong with the Sooners. I'm just saying, you can't go wrong with the Sooners.
Yeah, you ain't gonna find a fan base that shows out for their school like Oklahoma does.
I do love it. We're also sports. So
yeah, if you need, just call me up. I can find some stuff, send it to you.
That's true. Yeah. Tell me, might have some extra swag. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
All right. So looking at this, so our Cardinals played the Dodgers this last week, and that was kind of fun. The first was absolute Rockets home run 7 home runs for the Cardinals. I think the Dodgers had like 4. Insane. Yeah. Not the kind of baseball I liked, but the Cardinals look like they're getting a bit more on track. They still can't pitch for a whole lot. Flaherty still had a bad start yesterday. Today, Montgomery didn't go deep. Still very nervous about that, but don't need to talk a lot about the Cardinals because 1, don't want to jinx it, and 2, we talked a lot about them last.
Don't want to jinx it. Oh,
yeah.
Hey, this is exactly what I said though. You get 2-3 series in a row where you're hot, and you're right back in it. And now they're 4.5 games out of the wild card right now. So.
Yeah. Well, and so what's funny is the narrative of, it's the Yankees, they're gonna be fine. Or it's the Dodgers. Dodgers got off to a real slow start, and we're like, but it's the Dodgers. Don't worry about it. We don't know yet what the Diamondbacks are gonna do. We just know they're scrappy, right? But we have in our minds, like, remember, what was our statement about the Mets at the beginning of the year? What were they gonna do? $360 million in payroll. What are they gonna do?
Mets are gonna Met.
Mets are gonna Met. What is their record right now, Tubby?
What are they? 24, 23, something like that.
They won 5 in a row, so they're 25 and 23. But they won 5 in a row, which is pretty good. They're still minus 14 in the win-loss run column. But the thing is, I'm sure they didn't pay that. They didn't want to pay that much money for 25 and 23. But now they're in position to start to run a little bit here. The Marlins 24 and 23. So they're happy.
Yeah. Whoa.
Did I lose you?
No, it's a really bad echo.
Oops. Yeah, I don't know what that is. But anyway,
yeah.
So with that being said, what are some of the highlights that you're seeing right now? We're about to that point where it's Memorial Day weekend, where that's when you're like, okay, now it matters where you are in the standings.
I mean you look at teams like San Diego. Everyone expects them to challenge the Dodgers. And what? You've lost 7 of the last 10 games or something like that, or 8 of the last 10. Then you had the Pirates start off so hot. Are still sitting in a wild card spot. But
I don't expect them much longer. It's the Pirates. Like they got the hot start, easier schedule, and then the long season happens with younger players. O'Neal Cruz is still out.
Yeah, and they've lost like 18 games in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not good. We keep looking at them. Oh, a new losing streak instead of a winning streak starting. It's a new losing streak. Okay, cool. But at least at the end. So
or you got the AL East. I mean, you got every single team in that division that every single one of them can make playoffs.
Very true. Collins over here, though, he's in the chat saying that the Blue Jays have been terrible. They're at least above 500. Cardinal fans can't say that, but they're in the positive on the run column. Lost 4, and that's why it probably feels like the sky is falling. I get that. But even with 4 straight losses, if they don't lose those, if they go even, they're still 3rd in the division, which is crazy because that's how good that division is.
Yeah, and you look at stuff too. Like the Cardinals, they've played 48 games. How many do you think of those have been against teams above 500?
48 games, I would say 28.
32.
32. Okay, one
and
series.
It's the most in baseball.
Yeah, which that's catch-22 because you're not beating the teams that you got to beat come playoff time. That's the problem with the Cardinals.
But they're 14 and 18 against those teams.
Okay, well, that's still under 500.
But the Dodgers are like 9 and 14 against teams above 500. So 14 and 18, I think, is a pretty solid number, especially for as bad as they started out. They have 20 wins, so 14 of those 20 have been against teams above 500. So yeah, I think that's another aspect that you got to look at too, is that some of these teams have beat teams that aren't good, and so I think it has inflated their numbers a little bit. And maybe once teams start coming around, I mean, look at the Houston Texans have went on this big run. Now they're only a few games out of first place.
Dude, I know. I'm so mad. 27-19. That's so dumb.
Yeah. We were talking about, like, I just don't expect him to keep playing the way they do just based off recent history. And so, yeah, the fact that they have won 11 out of their last 12 since Altuve's been healthy. You've come off the started playing again. It was that maybe he was the catalyst to start the rest the season. Whether or not baseball wants to see it, it's going to happen probably.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah, so 14-18 in the Cardinals. I mean, the Padres are 13-19 against winning records. And you look at that and you're like, oh, that's. I mean, that look. I mean, I think that the Cardinals have they got to win more. This is the Dodgers are 9-11. How did the Dodgers not play that many great teams?
They started out with the Rockies and the Cubs and this and that. That they haven't really played a tough schedule, to be honest. And so that's what makes me a little bit nervous about how well that they were playing. They were beating some not so great teams. And are they really as good as we thought? Now they're having issues. I mean, you have, I don't know if they've started yet. There's a rain delay, but you've got Gavin Stone starting today, and you got Bobby Miller starting tomorrow because you got Urias out, you got May out for 2 to 3 months, and Kershaw, I'm pretty sure, just went on the IL also. And so your starting pitching's taking a big hit. Pepiot, he ain't going to be back until after All-Star break. So as deep as they are, the young guys are going to have to step up, especially with Syndergaard having a 6 ERA.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I like that. Colin in the chat said Altuve, where's the wire? And that makes sense why all of a sudden they're good again. What I'm seeing right now is a lot of these teams that are struggling or looks like that could be in the next couple of weeks as we approach the All-Star break, right? Like 6 weeks till the All-Star break, the pitching is the problem right now. And if that's the case, I'm not seeing that many pieces to trade for.
There's really not.
They're going to have to develop over the next couple of weeks. They're just not there yet. Maybe that's the addition of the extra, wild card spots, so there's fewer teams to buy from. But even then, you look at teams that are typically easy to look at buying from. Miami Marlins, I mean, they're technically still in a good spot right now. It's just, and you think Pittsburgh will have a couple pieces here and there, but I don't know that I want them. Johan Oviedo's look like Johan Oviedo again after looking good for 3 starts. He's been terrible.
Yeah, I mean, which teams are you going to go buy from? Because we all know that the main piece everyone wants, they ain't selling. They're in, possible playoff hunt, and they said even if they weren't, they ain't selling Ohtani. So, yeah, there's not a Jose Quintana that you can go out buy low on and hope that he, the ceiling, or the floor is high enough that he doesn't, drop off the face of the earth. And there's just not really that guy out there. I mean, the one name that I think of if you're looking for a starter pitching that could possibly, and that's only based off if the Guardians are looking at it going, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen, is Shane Bieber. And I mean, that's really,
Bieber. He doesn't strike people out, so
not like he used to now. And so, in the fact is do they even sell them? They're in a division where anything can happen.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know, man. It's going to be, it's not going to be, I don't think, an explosion of trades come trade. Even the talk, I don't think is going to be that big this year. Watch me put my foot in my mouth, and I'm going to be so.
We see some massive trades happen.
What? Are you kidding me? Aaron Judge to the Cardinals. Yeah. Show up to the Cardinals too. This is nuts. Mike Trout. Yeah. Sorry, okay, I can't get going. It's the voice. Yeah. All right. So we have had quite a few games where we've seen Byron Buxton primarily playing only the DH spot. We do that because the guy's made the glass and he gets hurt every other game. Is that worth it, though? I mean, how big of a loss is this for a Twins team who's in a division where it's very winnable?
I mean, you look at the numbers, and they actually don't support. Yeah, he's on pace to play the most games he's ever played. He's on pace to play 147 games, which is great because it's a guy that you're paying a lot of money and you want him to play. But you are doing one thing, and you're taking away his defense, the biggest weapon he has, because in his career, he's not known for a hitter. So, being a DH, he's playing, but you look at the runs above replacement over the, through his career is up to, 129 and over the last couple of or before this year, it was 125. And 77 of those runs above replacement were based off of defense alone. And now this year, he hasn't played the field at all. He's played DH all 41 games that he's played.
Gross.
His batting, he's, hitting a little bit better than he did last year. But he's on pace, par with what he's done in his career. And he's a 304 on base guy, which is almost 40, points below league average. His positional value, wins above replacement runs above replacement is -3. So you're basically essentially just going, okay, we are getting, are we wanting a guy that is on the field, playing, or do we want a guy that can play the field and be possibly the best defensive center fielder in baseball for probably less games, but he's making more of an impact on one end, but he's actually playing. So it's kind of this toss-up where you got to imagine at some point, you would hope that the injury bug wouldn't find him at some point, but we've seen it's going to find him somehow. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Defense is a very big part of baseball, and we have seen.
Well, it's without the shift even more important now.
Yeah,
pitch clock, that kind of stuff is. I think it's put a bigger emphasis on defense.
Yeah, and the guys that they have playing out in center, you got Nick Gordon, who is a shortstop. He's playing center field. Alex Kirilloff, who is majority left field, right field guy. You never really played center field. You're losing the glove, and honestly, I think if you just maybe mix and match, throw him out in outfield a little bit, and then play him DH a few games here and there, at least he's able to help you on the defensive side.
Yeah.
And it's never a guy that you were to expect to play 140 games, which is sad because he probably could be a great player. But if you go based off, if say he played 140 games, his WAR for the season somewhere around 5.5, which, if he was able to hit a little bit better, you probably could be talking about him in the MVP race every single year, just because defensive wise and everything. So I don't know. Do you take the lesser of Buxton for more games, or do you take the more impactful Buxton for less games?
Well, and every time that you limit a player to a DH, it's hard. I mean, you're just limited. Like, that's it. You can't let anybody else use DH unless he's going to have an off day, and it's just tough. It also limits him on the base pass. He's probably not going to be stealing as many bags. He's not going to be stretching from first to third or first to home on those tougher plays, just because in the back of his mind, he's like, I got to stay healthy. This is all I can do. So it's just a tough spot to be in. They're still in first in the division, so clearly, if it's not broke, I guess don't worry about fixing it. But that's a pretty weak division.
But
we talk about sellers. I do think there is some sellers in that division.
Yeah, I mean, probably you got the White Sox for sure. I would think would sell some guys, but like you stated, base running, his runs above replacement right now is 2 base running. In his career average on a season, is somewhere around 7 or 8. So maybe it's not a whole lot, but at this point, you're looking at a almost 72% difference in average WAR per game for him. So there has obviously been a dip because he's not playing the field, and we know he is a great fielder and he is fast and he can steal bases. So yeah, it's just one of those things. You got a guy bat 280, 304 on base percentage, or I think it's actually 340 this year. His average, career average is 304. And so, is that really a guy you want DHing all the time? I mean, usually you reserve your DH for someone that's going to hit a lot of home runs. Yeah. And I don't know if Buxton's going to be that guy. I mean, he's got 8 or 9 right now this year, but he finishes somewhere around 27, 28. You're like, yeah, I mean, it's a good season, but for a guy DH, you look for a guy like Schwarber. I mean, if he's going to hit 260, at least he's going to hit 30, 40 home runs.
Well, it's just super limiting. So hopefully we can see him out in the field. It's just better for baseball. I am curious. So we got about 5 minutes left. of a lot of time for the month because we get so many Mondays of record time this month. So, do you want to hit quick thought? Do you believe that the pitch clock is causing more injuries?
I mean, the numbers are hard to argue against, but part of it, I think, has to be the fact that these guys didn't get to ramp up as much as they normally would with the WBC this year. But on average, shoulder injuries are, at this point in the season, is about 38 injuries. Elbows about 49. Right now, we're sitting at 59 shoulder and 69 elbow. So the numbers are up. Whether that has to do with the pitch clock and these guys are, I don't see how that would really affect it a whole lot. Maybe you are having to throw faster, but I don't know how you walking around the mound, for 20 seconds is going to save your arm a whole lot.
My thought is like if they are causation, not just correlated. I think the biggest thing that you had to see is so many of these guys give 105% effort on every single pitch. And in the past, they played 2 hours and 30-minute games, and they threw hard, and they struck guys out, and all this stuff, and they didn't have this many injuries. So, one, people do come out. Like, if a guy gives up a bunch, and like it's an abnormally high number, like even Kershaw, you said he hit the IL. He didn't have a good start. And so, like, I'll just put him on the IL. Let him skip a start. Like, that's the norm for pitchers these days. So I do think some of those numbers are inflated. I think part of it needs to be a mental adjustment for all of baseball where, hey, it's not swing for the fences every single time. It's, man, I'm going to get on base. I'm going to do something productive. If I get out, I'm going to do it in a productive way. If I'm a pitcher, I know that I can throw 103, 102 every single pitch. But if I do that, I'm going to put my body through stress that I would rather be successful for 12 years, not 3. And if I just throw 96, maybe that's – and I command it really well. I hone in on the mechanics. I think that can help lead to fewer injuries. I don't think they're all causation. Like there's not 1 + 1 is equal 2. I think it's an algebra problem with a lot of different, letters and parentheses and exponents and all that garbage that goes into pitchers' injuries. I think it's well worth noting. I thought it was an interesting article, and I wasn't sure if this was final count at the end of the season or as of today's date when you put that chart, when you texted it.
From what I got was it was as of today, as of, this time it's the same.
Year I say like, 100%, no doubt.
Yeah. But I think a big thing that people aren't looking at is analytics is a big part of this because this is something we've talked about in recent podcasts that they aren't allowing these guys to pitch more than 4 or 5 innings. And so they're going, okay, I'm pitching 4 or 5 innings. I can go out there and throw hard every single time instead of thinking, I'm going to pitch 6, 7, maybe 8 innings. And so I got to conserve some for the back end of that start. And so these guys are going out there, okay, I'm going to throw as hard as I can, do these 4 innings, can't, see the lineup 3 times. So I'm only going to see them twice. So let's give them my hardest stuff every single time compared to, 7, 8 innings. Okay, I've got to conserve some. I can't throw 103 for 7 straight innings and it be good on my elbow or my shoulder. So let's ramp it back down to 96, 97 and be more controlled based. So I think that is a part that people aren't looking too much into, that the arm issues and stuff have popped up more when analytics have come into play, because I think that issue right there is that they go, okay, I've only got 4 innings, so I can throw harder, these 4 innings than I would if I was.
And you're going to get pulled out of the game. Yeah. So I don't know. More on that as the season continues. I hope the injuries don't keep going up. I don't like anybody injured, regardless of what team they're on. But the A's have got a contract for $1.5 billion on the stadium, plus obviously some stuff around the stadium for entertainment purposes. I think that's the new play for most places. Atlanta is one of those. St. Louis is one of those. Lots of those new stadiums do that now. So you said 30,000 seat stadium. I saw you put that. Is that something that you're surprised by?
I think it's probably better if it is somewhat on the lower side, because is the A's, how much traction can they get with as bad as they are, even being in Las Vegas? I'm sure the attendance will go up quite a bit for them once they move, but to me it seems like a pretty solid number. I imagine they would make it to where it'd be easy for them to expand 3,000 or 4,000 seats here and there to get it closer to the 40, 45 thousand seat range if they start having an influx of attendance and stuff like that. But it seems pretty on par, I think, for what it is, and based off the football stadium too, you would expect you just spent $3.3 billion on a stadium, and it would be one of the top in capacity, and it's really not.
Yeah, I think that's the new play. Is most of them is 35,000, not the 50, 45 something thousand anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just the way the world is with entertainment. So the 30,000 makes sense. It's a lot to spend for 30,000.
Yeah.
So. But yeah. So any other thoughts? Any other final thoughts you had?
Nope. I think we're good.
That's it. Well, man, that was a packed episode with a lot of different things in there. Hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you maybe learned something new and exciting about Tubby and his Madden adventures over the years. It's it's a whole process, and it probably is if you take in the NCAA football with it as well. A lot of tears.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't know this already, again, there was 30 minutes of bonus content over on YouTube this week. That's a lot of content. So please continue to show up in the chat, ask us questions. Always makes it more fun when we get to talk about sports with other people. And subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We'd be grateful for that. And then follow us on any of the social medias.
Oh yeah, we got a new one too.
We did.
We started the Facebook page.
Let's go.
Or at least Stephanie did. I got off. I don't know if it was off the podcast something. I was like, "You have an invite to be co-host of this," and I was like, "I didn't do that."
Yeah, I think maybe it was just some fan. We'll put it that way. It was just it's a good fan page.
Just some fan. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Well, until then, guys, you all enjoy the sports season as summer is underway, and we will see y'all next week.
See ya.